Today we're going to talk about how much I made launching a product on TikTok. In case you haven't been following along, I've been on a journey to make $1 million in a year. I've done side hustles, started new businesses, and even sold things on Facebook Marketplace. So far, in just under 5 months, I've made a little over $60,000. And real quick, before we go any further, if you could please hit the like and subscribe button, that would totally help me out. If you don't, I'm just gonna be really sad. So the physical product I launched on TikTok was a planner for entrepreneurs. This is the planner. I only opened up pre-orders for 1 week and I just closed pre-orders this last Saturday. Before launching the product, I was expecting to make around $100 to $200 launching my product on TikTok. And there's a couple good reasons why I expected to only make $100 to $200. The first one is the price point of my product. It's a $38 product, and my profit from that $38 is pretty small. The second thing is that TikTok is shorter format videos. So if you want something to do really well, ideally you want your video to be around 15 seconds. So trying to explain something's value or why somebody should buy a product in just 15 seconds is really difficult. 3, although I have a really large audience on TikTok of almost 150,000 people, video performance on TikTok is based off of user engagement. That means if people don't watch my videos, they aren't engaged, and I don't make good content, it won't go viral and it won't perform well, even though I have a large audience. So larger audience size doesn't necessarily mean that that amount of people is going to be able to see my content. Another reason is I didn't want to press too hard on pitching my first product, so I only made 3 videos directly asking people to buy the product. Total watch time for all 3 of those videos is less than 90 seconds because of the shorter format. And lastly, I have a global audience, but I'm only able to really ship the planner within the US. I can't technically ship the planner to countries outside the US, but it's really expensive to do that. In fact, it's more expensive than the total cost of the planner just to ship the planner to a different country. So that limits my audience even further. So with all those things put together, I was expecting, again, around $100 to $200 in sales off of a $38 planner. It seemed reasonable to me. Despite all this, I put together a system that I thought would work really well on TikTok. I took pieces from different marketing launch ideas I'd heard of, and I kind of put them together and reformatted them for TikTok, hoping to make at least the best launch possible. However, when I actually went to launch, what happened kind of blew me away. When I finally opened up my store, orders started pouring in way faster than I expected. In fact, by the time I closed pre-orders on Saturday, I'd completely sold out of stock, meaning I placed an order with the manufacturer and I had anticipated a certain amount of planners being sold. Well, I sold more planners than I anticipated being sold. In fact, I was supposed to send some planners to Amazon that I'm not able to do now because I have to ship them out because people already ordered them during my launch. This is kind of awesome, but also kind of a bummer because I'm waiting till I receive my planners and I'm able to inspect them and make sure they're up to standards before I place my second order for batch number 2. Total I made in 1 week from selling my planners for pre-orders was $5,366. That's profit, okay? So that's not the total overall amount that I made, but that's the total profit that I was able to pull in that I get to keep in my pocket and spend on whatever I want. The rest ends up having to go to shipping or the cost of manufacturing or the cost of shipping from the manufacturer to me or the cost of the box or the cost of wrapping it in plastic and various things like that. So for comparison, to show you exactly how amazing making $5,000 in a week from pre-order launches, let me scale up how much I made to larger audience sizes and compare what other creators could be making at larger audience. For example, if I had 1 million followers and I did roughly the same amount scaled up to 1 million followers, I would have pulled in close to $40,000. That's how much I used to make in a year, but in a week. Or let's say that I was someone like Mr. Beast. I would have pulled in close to $2 million with 50 million subscribers. Or let's say I was Charli D'Amelio with 100 million followers. I would have pulled in roughly $4 million over a 1 week period. For comparison, her entire net worth is $8 million. So I could have pulled in half her net worth if I was her in a week selling this if everything scaled up appropriately, which to me, there's no indication that it shouldn't. If anything, being at her size, she would get more press, more coverage, and more word of mouth buzz about it. And in some ways, I anticipate it would be even easier to produce a result like that. So for me, this opens up a pretty neat opportunity that I hadn't had before. If I can find one of these creators or somehow figure out a way to reach out to one of these creators and convince them to allow me to help them launch a product for a cut or a percentage of the profits, it might be another great opportunity or avenue for me to get to my $1 million goal. Now, I have no idea how I would do this. It's just a thought that popped into my head and I've been thinking on. Right now, I am really focusing on building out my brand, and I want to go into a little bit more detail on what's next with building out my brand for those of you who are interested in figuring out what's your total game plan, because obviously $5,000 in a week might be a lot, but obviously I'm not gonna be able to replicate that every single week starting out. And where am I gonna go from here? So my overall goal is to build a physical product brand, as well as I'm thinking through the idea of including an education section to the brand where I would do courses and different things like that. Now, I haven't actually started working on a course. I don't really know exactly what I would do in that area. I'm more just sharing my thoughts as a part of the process, so that any of you guys out there, if in a year I hit my $1 million goal and you're wondering, how did this guy do it? I kind of want to share, where my mind's at. So right now I'm thinking that could be a possibility, that could be an avenue. For example, instead of launching a planner, had I launched a course, I likely would have pulled in significantly more from my launch, and I wouldn't be limited by the restraints of stock or being sold out and different things like that. Back to it though, my overall idea is to build a brand. So the planner is the first product of the brand. It's my introduction to this entire world and this entire process, and it's been a crazy, difficult, complicated journey so far, but I will be launching other products that I believe are incredibly useful. And for the other products, I'm actually gonna be reaching out to my audience and asking them, what do you want? What can I do to help you? Because any great product arises out of a great need, right? So I wanna find my audience's need and figure out a way to solve that problem, and then they'll be willing to pay for it. At least that's kind of the idea or the mindset that I have, and that's kind of the belief system that I'm building this business off of. I still have a long way to go. I still have a lot to learn, and I still have a ton of hurdles and problems that I need to solve before I'll be able to get there. But I'm working really hard, I'm pushing myself, and I'm excited to see what happens next.